How you going, guys? In this video I want to cover another Robert Kiyosaki book. This is a fantastic little book called The Guide to Becoming Rich Without Cutting Up Your Credit Cards. The big takeaway, the big idea behind this book is that there's a thing called good debt and there's bad debt. So what is bad debt? So bad debt could be is actually your credit card. So if you've got, like, let's say $10,000 worth of credit card debt, that accumulates. There's a lot of fees, and therefore you're pretty much stuck for many years trying to pay it off if you get stuck. So that's an example of bad debt. Good debt actually helps you put money in your pocket instead of taking it away like a credit card. An example would be to go into good debt. For example, getting a loan on a property. Now, if you get a loan on a property, yes, you do have a liability only if that particular house on that property is not making you money. If that property is making you money, then that's good debt. If that property is not making any money, as in cash flow, then that's bad debt. So that's pretty much the essence behind this book, The Guide to Becoming Rich Without Cutting Your Credit Cards. You have to understand the concepts, the comparison between good debt and bad debt. And as soon as you get that, it's okay. What he's saying is it's okay to get into a lot of good debt because it's putting money in your pocket. Rich people, they actually, another takeaway is that rich people, they don't have, you might think that they don't have any debt. The fact is they have millions and millions of dollars. They're actually millions of dollars in debt. But it's not bad debt, it's actually good debt. The debt that they've got is from their properties, from their business investments that all produce cash flow. So they've gone to the bank, they've borrowed a lot of money, and that money is actually making them money. But if you're in bad debt, obviously it's going to kill you. So that's how rich people get rich, is that they leverage the banks that produce the cash flow from those loans. So that's pretty much the big idea behind this book, The Guide to Becoming Rich Without Cutting Up Your Credit Cards. The index is pretty good too. The content. So it's about 80 pages. This book is pretty good. Chapter 1, he talks about what's the price of being cheap. So he just gives it a story about how he met a friend who was driving like this really crappy car and everything just to try and save money. But the price of being cheap is that it really changes your way of thinking. You're not really thinking win-win. You're sort of like playing on the defense, because rich people, they play offense instead of playing defense. So that's pretty much the price of being cheap. He talks about the price of making mistakes as well. Price of education, what's the price of cutting up credit cards, how much debt do you really have, the price of change, and the price of fixing your financial report card. So Robert Kiyosaki talks about the financial statement, and that's pretty much your financial report card. So banks don't really care whether whether you're a good guy or bad guy. They just care about your report card, which is your financial statement. So if you fix your financial report card, the banks will love you. Another interesting concept that Robert spoke about is, if you look at someone, does a big house mean that you're rich? Now, this is a pretty good observation, because a lot of people think that, okay, this person's got a big house, this person's really rich, but you don't really know what's happening behind the scenes. That house could be completely leveraged to the bone, where the person is really in tons and tons of bad debt. So let's say that person owns a really big mansion, but is actually that the cash flow that person has is actually killing that person. So they're actually paying like a lot of money out of their pocket, and they're actually going negative, right? Let's say they've got, just for an example, let's say they've got $100,000 in the bank account, fantastic, but that house is making them drain $10,000 per month from that bank account. That's not really nice. That doesn't mean that person's rich. That means that person is holding on to a liability. Now, a lot of rich people, they don't really own those really fancy houses. They actually own a lot of like crappy houses that look really crappy on the outside, but on the financial statement, those houses actually produce positive cash flows. So they know, they've done the calculations, they've done the research, and the creative deals where that particular house, even though it might look crappy, is actually putting $100 in their pocket every single week. And that's where you want to sort of like focus your energy on, is to find those passive income properties, passive income instruments that will produce those cash flows. So So yeah, that's another interesting concept that Robert talks about. So, once again, I highly recommend another Robert Kiyosaki book, Guide to Becoming Rich Without Cutting Up Your Credit Cards. Check it out if you're in lots of credit card debt. Credit cards can really kill you. I've been in debt in credit cards, and I'm so glad I got out of it. And if you're struggling, read this book. It'll help you out. I hope it helps you. And let's all try and clean up our financial statements and get some more cash flow in. So check it out. I think it's on Amazon. Check it out. It's a great book. Thanks.